On this episode of Sega Talk, we dive into the uncharted territory of lost consoles. From the canceled Sega Neptune to the mystic Sega Pluto and the ambitious but doomed Sega VR. We're exploring the machines time forgot.
Sega Bits presents Sega Talk, a podcast talking all things Sega! With your hosts, George and Barry.
Look, it's a giant talking egg. I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to the master here. So what?
Hello and welcome to Sega Talk. I'm your host, George, and with me is the previously unreleased version of Barry. Wow.
Hello, I'm Beta Barry.
Beta Barry.
Hello.
It just looks like a what was that? Escape from New York when you those plastic people.
I was trying to do like, in the Inspector Gadget movie, the live action one. They had like the bootleg Gadget, and he was like, hey, and he had like big white teeth and like had cheeks.
Oh man, that movie used to scare me as a kid. So nightmare stuff.
Great movie, classic film.
Okay. And today we're going to be talking about lost consoles, specifically 3 lost consoles from Sega. And I don't know if you would consider one of these a console. I would say yes, it's a platform. Sega Neptune, Pluto, and the Sega VR, which some people would say it's an add-on, but I think it's an interesting thing to talk about. Which none of them saw the light of day outside of, fans and stuff. What is your history with any of these lost machines from Sega? Are these machines you found out about through the internet or something that you saw in magazines or saw the promotion for?
Well, I'd like to tell you that, George, but first I want to talk about our Patreon very quickly. We just did a little reformatting over there. I think we've made some tiers much more appealing. If you're at even the lowest tier, you're going to be getting some early exclusive releases of new Sega Newsbits videos with both of us. We haven't done one of those in, it feels like 10 years or 5 years. It must have been.
Yeah.
And we also have, in addition to our Patreon Premier Picker tier, where you tell us what to cover and your pick goes to the front of the line, we also have a tier for a picker wheel. So we're going to spin a wheel at the end of the show if there is no higher tier picker coming first. And from that list, it has a couple that I've thrown in there that we've been wanting to do for a while. It has a couple from people at that picker wheel tier. And it's a random pick. So you're getting the higher tier sort of, but with like a little more randomness. And you're kind of like, think of this as like when you go to Disney and there's like the Fast Pass and then like the regular line. This is the regular line. The Fast Pass is still the best way to go about it. But if you have some stuff you're like, man, maybe in a couple months they'll talk about this game I really want to hear about. It's a great way to support us. We've gamified it, so you get to be on a wheel. How fun is it to have your pick picked on a wheel? Exciting stuff. But let me answer your question now. So my history with any of these lost machines. Now, I've heard about them maybe in magazines years later, but of all of them, I think maybe the VR I knew existed, but it never came to fruition. The other ones, though, I really didn't know about until decades later. How about you?
I'm the same way. Besides the VR, I actually heard that one on the internet when I, was older and I came on here and started looking up random oddities of Sega stuff. I always thought
we all came on the internet when we were younger.
Right. Well, besides people that were, they were old when the internet was invented, right?
Well, they came on it too. We were all gaming on the internet.
Not me. I've never even seen a net-rated X site. I don't know what you're talking about. Anyway.
Oh, sorry. This isn't Sega Bits After Dark.
But But yeah, I thought it was interesting that Sega had lost machines, and I always wonder how many lost machines there are out there that we never heard of, like that never made the initial stages, like Nintendo plans of different versions. Like they release some kind of insane stuff. Like I could never see Nintendo today releasing something like the Virtual Boy. So that's pretty crazy, considering it had like so many issues, like it hurt your eyes. But we'll talk about that kind of stuff in a little bit. First, we're going to be talking about the Sega hardware. So the history of Sega is one defined by innovation and almost frantic level of corporate chaos. Would you agree with that?
I'd believe it. Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Particularly during the mid-90s, the period saw the company, once a formidable rival to stumble through, like me, a baffling hardware strategy that confused consumers and industry partners alike. A single report from the era describes Sega's product line as suffering from an extreme case of multiple personality disorder. This state of disarray was a direct result of the fragmented hardware portfolio. By 1995, Sega was actively supporting an astonishing array of gaming platforms, including the Genesis, Sega CD, 32X, 32X CD, Game Gear, Pico, Saturn, and in some markets, the original Master System, of course. On top of this, it also sold a CDX, which obviously we already know. It combined the Sega CD and the Genesis. Did you ever feel like there was just too many Sega consoles at this time or ideas during this time period? Or did you kind of like it? Like, was this like innovative? Because I think this is what gave them their innovative edge.
Right. Yeah. I think around this time, it really started to feel like Sega Genesis wasn't so much a console as it was sort of, I don't know, a platform. Like, I know that's something they wanted to do with the Dreamcast, where they were like, oh, you could have a Dreamcast DVD player. You could have Dreamcast built into your Xbox. Like, they were really trying to spread it out. And at the time, it was like there were 3 different models that could play Genesis games. Plus, there was the CDX that could play Genesis games and the Nomad. So there were a lot of different ways to play the Genesis, but I felt like some of the other ones, it was only that 32X add-on. It was only the Sega CD add-on, unless you had the CDX, but then it couldn't play the 32X. And so it was like, it was a little overwhelming, a little confusing, and also it made me wonder why they never did like a Game Gear player on the Genesis. I think that would have been amazing. I mean, kind of like the Game Boy player for the SNES.
That would have been pretty sick.
I like the power base converter, but I don't love it. I think a Game Gear player, though, would have been really sick. That would have been really fun.
I wonder if they thought, like, it would make people not buy the Game Gear. Maybe they thought, oh, they'll just skip on buying the hardware of the Game Gear if they could just play it on their TV because it eliminates the battery issue. And they were trying to sell it like a TV, too, like a portable TV, but I think it would have worked fine, but I could see that concern.
It would have been cool.
Before we talk about the actual Neptune, I just want to talk to you about the designs. So here's the design of the Sega Neptune. Yeah. And what is your thoughts on it? I mean, it really just does look like a slimmed down version of the 32X. I mean, it looks like a Sega Genesis, like literally, but it just says 32X on it. I think it looks slick.
Yeah, it really looks like what the Model 3 should have been. I don't think they ever should have made a Model 3. I think it's not that pretty of a console. And I think here, at least, like, it brings something new. Model 2 really was just smaller and more compact. Model 3 was just more smaller and not as good in terms of, like, hardware quality. But here, I think this would have been the way to go. And I think, as with a lot of Sega's lost or unreleased consoles, they really should have taken the place of something else. I think if they were released, it would have been too much. So it's smart that they didn't release them. But yeah, I don't mind the look of it at all. I think it looks quite cool.
Yeah, I actually think it looks really cool, and there's always these like pieces of hardware, even though I kind of hated that Sega was doing this stuff, that I always thought was really really slick. Like the Nomad, the way the Nomad looked was really cool, and this kind of reminds me of the Nomad a little bit, where it's more not as circular, I guess, or like rounded. It's more like I don't know. I don't even know how to describe it. It just reminds me of that. The way they redesigned the Nomad. But yeah. The story of the Sega Neptune is a story of company trying to solve a problem it created for itself. The Neptune was conceived in the mid-90s as a single streamlined console that would combine the immensely popular Genesis with its new, far less successful 32X add-on unit in one package. This was seen as a logical move to simplify the product line and offer a single, powerful cartridge-based console that could compete with a new wave of CD-based machines like the Sony PlayStation. Even though I personally don't think the 32X would have been able to compete against the PlayStation, I think it's cool that they tried to do a re-release of the console, but at the same time, doesn't it kind of eliminate the whole purpose and marketing behind the 32X, which is like your Genesis isn't dead. You could just pop on an add-on, and now you have a PlayStation type console or a Sega Saturn type console. The idea that now they're selling another console, so now you have to remarket the whole marketing campaign. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that would have been an issue right away. So I'm surprised it got to the stage where there's an actual unit, or at least a plastic shell. But the physical history of the Neptune is one of surprising absence. While the existence was widely known in the industry, a mock-up was shown in trade shows, a working prototype has never been found. The sole known unit is a non-functional shell, described by a museum display as a sculpted piece of plastic with no circuitry inside. This lack of functionality prototype suggests the project was terminated very early into the development cycle, likely before engineers were able to fully integrate the Sega Genesis and 32X into one single operational board. The Sega Neptune is not simply a canceled project, but I mean, it just never came out. It was never made. It was like an idea, and Sega, for some reason, wanted to hype it up in event shows. I wonder if they got permission from Sega of Japan for that. But do you think it was even possible and for Sega to do this cost effectively? Like, we're talking, you know how big the Genesis and the 32X and how much power it draws. You think it would have been possible?
Right. I don't think so at the time. I think now there are fans attempting and succeeding at it, but it is a tight squeeze, I think, from what I've heard. And it's an interesting idea, but I'm glad they didn't go forward with it. I don't think the 32X has the library to sustain it. I mean, the fact that it's putting 32X above Genesis, but 32X has a much smaller library, almost makes it like, I don't know, kind of silly that you're putting that as the marquee, even though really it would have been better if you changed that little logo on there and said, like, Sega Model 32X. I think that's what they should have done, like the Model 3, but call it Model 32X. Would have been cool, I guess. But yeah, it's... I
think it would have been...
best we didn't have it.
Yeah, because, I mean, the marketing would have been kind of weird. You would have to remarket another console. And also, usually when you do these kind of combination projects, it's because there's something successful there already, like both ends. Like, the Genesis was successful, and people want to play it on the go, so you combine them together and you get the Nomad. It makes sense. The CD-X is like a portable CD player in the early 90s, which is crazy. So I think that has its own like gimmick to sell, at least at the time. This one, not so much. Like, I can see the Sega the CDX, as a portable music player, because nobody had CD players back then. I don't know about 32X. And I don't think it didn't have enough games, but yeah.
No, not at all.
The cancellation of the Neptune was a direct consequence of Sega's internal politics and market miscalculations. The company's Japanese headquarters ultimately decided to pivot its full attention to the impending launch of the true next generation console, the Sega Saturn, which was poised for 1994 release in Japan. The 32X had already proven to be a commercial failure, confusing the market, diverting resources from the Sega Saturn. A new console based on this failed technology was an unattainable proposition, and any chance of the Neptune's release was permanently dashed by growing success of the PlayStation. Basically, that's it. While Sega officially supported the Sega Genesis up until the 1997, it's actually kind of crazy that Sega Japan was already ready to move on in 94, but I guess maybe consoles just win by faster, because like the Nintendo Switch literally went up $50. So like, and it's still selling. So like, to me, it's like, what was it, 1988 to 1994? Is that long enough to be like, we're done, we're moving on?
Yeah. Wow.
Do you think that like that's a long enough period of time to wait?
I don't know. Like, yeah, I feel like 97's a bit late, but 94 is quite too soon. I'm with Tom Kalinske in that I feel the Genesis probably could have bridged the gap between the Genesis and the Dreamcast and skipped the Saturn, as crazy as that sounds. But I know Tom thinks from an American mindset, and I think the Saturn was just too popular in Japan to ever not happen. But yeah, it really, Sega was just, the issue is that they had two popular consoles in two regions, but they weren't the same console, you know?
Yeah, I agree. I will say that I thought it was 94 is early for internally to be like, it's over, we need to move on right now. I do think that the Genesis was kind of sullied because of all the add-ons, and there was this weird like, wait, are you trying to sell me a 32X, aka the next a 3D console, or is this just a 2D console? If they just stuck 2D with CD, that would have been perfect. Keep it at that. Everything else is too complicated. But I do agree that it sucks that they had the Genesis popular in America, and obviously Japan had the Sega Saturn that was doing great. So
right.
let's talk about how you could get your own Neptune. So,
yay.
Despite being abandoned by its creator, the Neptune has been resurrected by modern retro modding community. Talented enthusiasts like Kozam the Great and Divix have recreated the functionality of the PCBs and 3D printed cases that faithfully replicated the original mock-up design. These are one-off prototypes that could cost you upwards of thousands of dollars to produce. So we'll see that right here. We have the project page on PCBway.com, where it has all the information, including different types of shells. What's your opinion on this project? I know there's another one from a Brazil company that we'll talk about, and it's crazy that there's two projects for something so niched like this. But
no, I think this is really cool. I don't really follow this sort of stuff. Like, how hard is it to do all this? Is it a lot of hands-on stuff, or?
Well, I'm looking at, if you look down, he makes his own circuit boards with his logo and stuff, and I'm like, that can be easy, right?
Right.
Yeah, so my thing is like, yeah, I don't know. I think it sounds like it's super hard and complicated, but I'm not an expert at this. I have seen a lot of custom circuit stuff happening online and modifications using PCB boards. I don't know. I always wonder, if you look down here, there's like a little video called the Sega Neptune. It's this what's his name? Macho Nacho Productions. I actually seen his video. I think I used them to modify Game Gear, put colors. So this guy's actually has pretty cool content. He's actually, and so it shows you how you install it, and it's a lot of work.
Yeah,
like soldering. So very cool.
I'd rather pay someone
to do it. I think that's what a lot of people
Yeah.
do, and I think the creator Kozam the Great, if you look him up, he actually I think has like services where he offers him to do it for you. It's probably for people like us that are, I guess, not very good at soldering, right? There's also the Brazilian company called Gamescare, working on an FPGA-based Neptune to perfect the console that Sega gave up on decades ago. The community-driven preservation ensures that the Neptune's so, I mean, it's just whatever. But I do have the website on Sega Bits. Big Elk, the beautiful Big Elk, did an article on it, and pretty much it's a Brazilian company that's trying to sell these, I guess, as a project. I don't think there's a price on them yet. I think right here is the ballpark of 200 to 300, which I think to a lot of people is a lot more doable. But the shell around it is in an exact replica, as you could tell here in the tweet. But they do have it working. I guess you could always print your own and then replace it. I don't know if that's a thing that...
I mean, I'll be honest, I'd rather just have the shell at a low price. Right? As much as I like the idea of it being a working console, I have one behind me here. I don't need an all-in-one 32X just to be like, yep, that works. Like, it would never be my main console.
I am
but
wondering...
I love the shell.
Sorry, I was going to say, I was just wondering if, like, what power it uses. I'm assuming it uses just one of the bricks. That is a plus. Probably not even a brick, you know? Right. So I'm looking at the back and it only has one power adapter. So that could be a positive if you don't like connecting multiples.
Yeah, that's true.
But I would personally think it's cool to do the more expensive one just because it's like the actual 100% what it would have been. I mean, I'm not going to do it, but if I had to pick. And I usually play my 32X with my... I have an EverDrive Pro. It just plays it right off the cartridge. A lot easier, so... It would be something for my vanity to have, I guess. But talk about vanity. Let's talk about Sega Pluto, the secret project from Sega. This one has a few pictures on here, I think. If they work, hopefully. Let's see. Yeah. So we have pictures from Sega Retro, which basically shows the whole console from like every angle. Is there anything here that you find interesting besides like the metal plating in the back, I guess?
I think it's a very ugly console.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously it's a prototype, so I can't be that down on it, but man, like it feels like a modern console made in the 90s. Like, it just has no charm. It's like as beautiful as an Xbox console.
The buttons are like weird. They're just like these little round things that look kind of like they just picked them off of an assembly line for anything else. Like, this could be, those little buttons could be on anything, while the Sega Saturn had more like weird shaped ones sometimes. I mean, it depends on the model you have, but it was like these weird like disc, almost kind of look almost like Sonic in a weird angle.
Right, yeah, I mean, we had the oval, like the Model 1 ovals, and then the Model 2 like circles and different colors, the grays, the whites, the blacks, but this one just doesn't have anything. It's the ugliest potential Sega console I've ever seen.
So it doesn't get the beautiful award from you.
No, not at all. It gets the ugly award. It looks like an American-made Sega Saturn.
I mean, I think that's what it is, right?
Yep.
And so let's talk a little bit about the Sega Pluto, which is funny name because like Pluto's not a planet. No, this isn't really a console, but
Now it isn't. Yeah.
an unannounced and deeply secret project was born from the ashes of one of Sega's most catastrophic corporate blunders. At E3 1995, Sega of America prematurely launched the Sega Saturn at a price point of $399, which doesn't seem that expensive today, but back then it was a lot of money. A move that was famously undercut by Sony's immediate and much simpler announcement of a $299 price point for the PlayStation. This is called the price that was heard around the world, which gave Sega their devastated blow to their U.S. market prospects. In the wake of this disaster, Project Pluto was launched. It was an internal initiative to develop a cost-reduced Sega Saturn intended to be marketed exclusively to North American customers. Is this something that you would have been like? I think it's cool that like a different like North American company's like, all right, this is very Japanese. I think we're going to try something ourselves to make this cheaper.
Right.
Obviously, they wanted to hit the $299 price point, but like realistically, you think it was even possible for Sega to do this without like basically making everything cheaper? I don't know. Like, wouldn't that make the console break easier? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I remember at the time the Saturn, it wasn't so much a price issue with me. It was just the fact that I didn't know. It didn't have like a Sonic game. The Sonic games it did have didn't really jump out at me, and then it just kind of had a short life. And I think by the time I got one, the Dreamcast had just released. And so it actually was really weird for me to have this brand new Sega Dreamcast console sitting next to a Saturn that I really never played or followed. I think I played Nights at a demo kiosk like years before. And so it was very weird to like be experiencing Sega's brand new 3D hardware as well as the console that came before it and like playing Burning Rangers the same night as Phantasy Star Online. And I'm like, wow, man. So yeah, like if had this come about, I don't think it would have sold me because, like I said, it wasn't a price thing. It was just, I don't know, like the Saturn never really came into my headspace. Maybe they marketed it badly, but I don't remember outside of Archie comic ads and Nights into Dreams. Like I don't remember it being so strong a console. And I feel like, too, by the time I would have gotten one, I already heard about the Dreamcast. And I'm like, well, what's the point in getting a Saturn? I'll just wait a year for the Dreamcast to come out.
I think you make a good point. I think the software was the issue, really.
Yeah.
People not being able to make software fast enough because it was more complicated to make Sega Saturn games than it was for PlayStation. And I think it was just that the PlayStation and Nintendo 64 really did suck up the energy from Sega. Like, they were just like Mario 64, everyone knew what that was. Final Fantasy 7, everyone knew what that was. Metal Gear Solid. They didn't have that game for the Saturn where it was big enough to push it to the mainstream audience, not just old Sega fans, which kind of sucks. But yeah. But they said this was cheaper, but I guess we'll get more into it, and I think this project sounds even cooler when we actually see more about what they had in mind. So the project was a glimpse into the future that Sega would not live to see. The Pluto was a revised Saturn with two integrated features, a built-in Netlink modem and an internal hard drive that had a whopping 540 MB. Crazy amount of space at that time for sure.
Yeah.
Had it been released, the Pluto would have been the first video game console out of the box with internet and predating the Sega's Dreamcast by several years, and an inclusion of a hard drive that the original Xbox did by 5 years. The modem was going to be a standard 28.8 kilobits per second unit, which was typical back then. And And it let you play Sega Rally and Virtual On, which, I mean, did you ever play the Sega Saturn online? I felt like I always wanted to because I read about that it had that feature, but I just never had the Netlink myself. So
yeah, I always wanted to as well, but by the time came for me even have the hardware, like obviously it was no longer doable. Plus the Dreamcast was out, so what's the point? And I mean, I know the next. Why don't you ask the next question? Because I already have an answer in the chamber.
As a North American, how do you feel about having a cost-reduced Sega Saturn that somehow packs a hard drive and a modem? Is this too good to be true?
I don't think those are selling points that would have even sold me on it. The hard drive, as cool as it is, it's very easy to get one of those memory cartridges. Especially like an Action Replay, but even the official ones, they held more than enough data. The Saturn was not like the Dreamcast where a VMU filled up real fast. I think that needed a hard drive. If anything, the Saturn, like 540.3 megabytes, that's more than enough. You're good.
Way more.
Like your save data's good. But outside of that, the internet thing, like they never sold it as a web browser, so that's kind of out. So what games can I play online? Like 2? That doesn't seem worth it. And again, going back to the Sega Neptune, like, oh yeah?
I was going to say Daytona USA had online. Maybe that would make it worth it.
It was a bad version, though.
Yeah, okay, you're right.
But, like, look at the Neptune. Like, what's the selling point? Oh, it's an all-in-one 32X player. Yeah, but there's only, like, less than 20 32X games. And then you're like, what's this? Oh, it's a Saturn with a built-in modem. Well, what can I play? 3 games? Oh, are they like the best versions ever? No. It's like, oh. And they all have sequels on the Dreamcast? Yeah. So, yeah.
I would say that it would blow my mind because I always thought it was interesting. Like, it blew my mind as a kid that you could play the Sega Saturn online. I read online. I didn't really look too deeply into it, but wasn't it that you had to connect directly with someone and have the internet be on at the same time? Like, it wasn't like you would be in a lobby or a matchmaking. There's no such thing. Like, it had to be a direct connection.
I do believe you might be right. I remember it was not as easy to use as the Dreamcast, and even the Dreamcast wasn't easy to use. I think that the easiest is the intranet or the Ethernet cable, which I bought not too long ago for my Dreamcast. I plugged it in, it just worked. I'm like, this is amazing. I wish I had this back in the day. I wish I did this. It's great, but yeah, fiddling around with all those. How much did I get it for?
Yeah.
Why don't you guess?
$200.
Less.
$250. I mean, $150, not $250.
I got it for about $140.
Oh.
And I bought it from the seller with, I think, a Dreamcast twin stick, and he combined shipping. So for $200, I got the Ethernet modem and the twin stick. So that was like my biggest Dreamcast purchase in the last like 5 years. I really haven't bought much, but that was like a must, and it's amazing. But with this, like it doesn't feel like it has anything that really excites me. It's 2 features that they didn't really go all out with. So
they would have to like we said in the beginning, software. They would literally have to have a game that uses the hard drive in such a unique way that you're like, I need to have this, because like I think Nintendo had the double D or whatever it was called. They had like a little add-on. I don't know what they called it. I forget. It's like something.
The double D.
I don't know. Look, you could look it up. But anyway, it was a Japan only add-on, and it was what Animal Crossing came out on. And I think Animal Crossing is one of those games that's so unique that having all that crazy content you could like customize your house with and stuff, it makes sense that you would want a hard drive to like load that in and out on the N64. So something like that, I could see it selling it, but like it never, like Sega had like every single idea on how to fix the issue besides just make more games that are great, which I guess it's easy to say make me a Metal Gear Solid game that's as popular as that. I don't think it works that way.
Yeah, it seems between both of these, like what Sega needed to do was just quit and move on, or starve people a little bit. Like, you don't need to release constant hardware. You don't need to have the bridge between the Genesis to the 32X, or the Genesis to the Sega CD to the 32X to the Saturn to the Dreamcast, all within like a handful of years. Like, I think Nintendo does it right, where they're like, you're playing the 3DS now for the next 10 years. That's all you get. You know,
Enjoy.
We're not making like another handheld, and you're only playing the Switch. That's all you get. There's not going to be like, I don't know, like Switch CD and Switch 32X, and then we're combining those two and making a Switch 32X CD unit. Like, it's just, yeah. But I love that they did so much, because it gives it, as a collector, and it gives us so much to like look for and play with and talk about. But man, at the time, not smart.
I mean, I think Nintendo sticks with their guns, even if it's good or bad. Like, the 3DS was like bombing, and they were still like, well, we're gonna just weather the storm, and they kept going with it. They didn't like, they did do a 2D version of it, but like,
right,
they weren't like, oh, no more dual screen, people hate it. They just continued on and didn't try to like, they just made games for it, which Sega should have been doing.
Right, exactly.
The existence of the Pluto was lost to history all the way up until 2013, when two prototypes were independently discovered, each with their own incredible story. The first was the Pluto 02, which was leaked online in April 2013 by a former Sega of America employee who had taken it with them upon their departure from the company. The unit had the Sega Saturn branding on the top and was later sold at a public auction for an astonishing, I guess it is pretty astonishing, $84,000. In 2013,
Wow.
that would buy you a house easily. Now that's a down payment. The second prototype, Pluto 01, was discovered by a collector named Roger Vega, also known as Kid Vid 666. Please, I mean, I'm hoping that the 666 is a misprint and this guy's not evil, but maybe he is. That's how he founded evil powers.
Maybe.
Vega purchased the console for just, it says $1, but it was actually $3. At a flea market in Stockton, California, after haggling the seller down from $5. Unaware of it, I know, talk about being cheap. Unaware of its significance, he initially thought it was a knockoff or a VCR. It was only after seeing the news about the Pluto 2 that he realized what he had in his possession was one of the rarest pieces of video game history.
It's insane.
Obviously, we as big Sega fans, we probably would have known it's not a VCR. We probably would have said this is something weird, and we'd probably be talking to people on Sega Retro about it and seeing what they think it is, which they would probably take apart and dissect with a microscope. Would you... yeah, so are you surprised at how this unit ended up at a flea market?
I'm not surprised, because, you know,
Stockton,
weird oddities that people... I mean, you know, stranger things have happened. Like, prototype games go out there. Super rare NES games go out there. So it's not crazy. But it's still wild. I think that's my favorite Angry Video Game episode, where he, like, he goes to the yard sale or whatever, and he finds, like, the most expensive NES game. Remember that? And then, like, he, like, accidentally, like, sells it to someone or something, and then he tries to get it back. Like, that just kind of nails, like, the old days of game collecting, where people didn't know what they had. Like, nowadays it's like, well, it says Sega, so I'm gonna say it's worth a lot of money.
I've seen that so much at flea markets now. Like, when I go, it would be like Xbox 360 games. The guy's like $10 each. Like, what the, like, for Xbox 360? No one wants Madden 14 or whatever you're selling here. But
Right. I've just been reading Retro Gamer magazine, and they had a whole thing on Traveler's Tales, and they were talking about all these games, and I'm like, making a little mental list. I'm like, well, I got to pick up Toy Story Racer because it's from like the team that made Sonic R, and I got to pick up this. And then I go on eBay, and I'm like, these games aren't worth $50. Stop it. Like
Crazy.
It's Toy Story 2, the video game. They made millions of these. It's not a $50 game. But yeah.
Is it that the games are worth more or that the dollar is worth less?
That's another podcast.
Definitely. We'll get into economic theory in the next podcast. But
Yes.
talking about economic theory, would you ever haggle
Yeah.
someone that was selling you something super rare for super cheap just to get it down a little more, a few bucks?
So here's the thing. I never would do that because then it gets them to start thinking about the product, and they might notice it's mislabeled and know it's rare, or they might say like, well, let me just check eBay. Like, let me see if, like that gets them thinking. All you want to do, if you see something rare that has a decent price, just buy it. Don't haggle, because you might clue them in or get them thinking. You just want them to take the money and you run.
So,
I mean, I've never done anything like that, but I do remember that when I went to Classic Game Junkie in Philadelphia, I saw some Blue Label Master System games, and I just kind of knew those were a little harder to find. I didn't know what the rarity they were, but they were like, complete in box games, $15 each, Outrun and I think Rambo, and I'm like, I'll pick these up. And then when I get in my car and I start looking online, I'm like, holy shit, I think I got one of the rarest Master System games of all time. So rare that it doesn't even have a price because no one like sells it. There's like only like 3 people who really have said they own it. So I'm like, man, I'm glad I didn't haggle, because otherwise they'd say, well, what's Blue Label Rambo? And they'll probably like find the one listing for like $500, and then I would have been screwed. But yeah, don't say anything. Hush, hush.
I would do the like if it was something I think the only time I ever went to a flea market, some lady had a box, like a big box full of Japanese Saturn games. Not many of that I really wanted, like that were like sought after, but mostly just like, they released like a gajillion games, like these the tie-in games like Blue Seed. I think they had that one. They had Shin Shinobi was how I got it. But if they said, I forgot how much she wanted for them at the time, but I would literally just do the bundle thing where I'm like, oh, how about 4 for $20 or whatever.
Right. Yeah. I saw a guy at a flea market with a bunch of 32X or 3DS games for $5 each, flat price. And I just grabbed every one I could see that was an RPG because I knew they'd be rare. And I was right. Like I was grabbing Monster Hunter games that were like $40-$50 for $5. I got the Kingdom Hearts game. I forgot what else. Same with Master System. I was like, this was back in the day, but I was like, do you have Master System games? Yeah, there's a stack on the floor there. And I walked over, and any game that either like I recognized or looked like an RPG or looked super weird Japanese, I just bought without taking my phone out to make it look like I was really doing
Just
anything.
shopping.
And like I found what is it? The Monster World, the Dragon's Trap for like $5 complete. I found a bunch of RPGs and like shmups, and it's just kind of like if you see certain genres just always sell a lot more. Horror, shmup, and RPG, like and platformer typically, like those usually sell for a little bit more. So grab them. Don't haggle. Don't clue them in.
You're gonna love the next part of the Pluto story. So
Let's
the
do it.
Pluto
Oh man.
extends beyond discovery into the modern world of preservation. Roger Vega's Pluto 01 has been a subject of extensive study by retro enthusiasts like Ben Heck and Adam Koralik. Ben Heck repaired the unit, confirming the prototype status and discovering the internal hard drive. Big deal, obviously. While the hard drive's data has yet to be recovered, Adam Koralik has since taken the console on tour, even bringing it to the current Sega of Europe offices allowing it to return home decades after it was abandoned. I would say that
What a waste of time.
I would say that Ben Heck.
That's the
obviously,
stupidest fucking thing.
But like, I thought Adam Korlick's part, like when I did the research, that he did, like with like that he actually like went through and you know, used his expertise. I know he did content with it, which I mean, you're a content creator, so I get it, and I'm cool with that. But see, I wonder with Sega, I think it's even the wrong Sega. Really, wasn't this developed in Sega of America? So you took it to Sega of Europe. I don't think they produced this unit. It was found in Stockton.
I think it's a waste of time to like take a rare thing on like a quote unquote tour, and it seems really weird. And also,
will you even take your kid to a tour? Like what? Why?
I don't think the modern Sega Europe even knows about anything from 5 years prior. Like, you look at their social team right now. I doubt they've even played a Sega game. They're just like a bunch of like young people making really bad content. Like, hey babe, let's play a Sega game, and it's like, what is this? You don't. They need to vet these people. I want them to actually like show me that you can play retro Sega games. Show me that you know what they are. I just don't get it. It's like they're hiring people based on the fact
vibes.
that they have worked in social media and they have vibes. And then they fire fantastic people like Danny. So it pisses me off. George, we were here like 10 years ago in like 2015, 2016 or whatever, when like Sega was messing up, and they're doing it again. They're like, let's give Sega Europe access to all of our social medias, and they'll make content for the world that are like hyper-focused, weird British shit. I'm sorry, this is just a tangent, but I just bringing the Pluto there, it's like the stupidest place to bring it, because they'll be like yeet yeet, and they'll like dab on it. Like that's what they'll do.
I think the Europe bit was probably not needed. I'm assuming he got invited by Sega themselves to go there, but I think he
was friends with the Sega Europe guy. That's what it was.
Oh, that makes sense then. But
the one who left, and he hates us.
Oh, well.
We can say that now because he doesn't work there anymore.
Yeah.
And Sega would never watch this video. They'd never get this deep into it, so who cares?
And I will say that the tour thing makes sense. I mean, I don't even know how these guys got this console. I don't know if it's theirs or they're just borrowing it. And do you give it to Sega Europe? Do they own it? Where is the console?
You better fucking not. Don't give it to them.
Yeah. So yeah. The whole idea behind this was to stabilize sales and reduce inventory risk through a form. Oh, whatever. This is whatever. But anyway, what do you think that? Why do you think that the Sega Pluto never saw the light of day? And do you think it just didn't work out because of cost? And also, are you surprised there's an actual working prototype of this thing?
I don't think it saw the light of day because probably once Japan caught wind of it, they were like, dude, this is the Dreamcast. We've got it covered. Don't make another hardware version. We've already done... I mean, the mere fact that the Saturn existed for as short of a time as it did, yet it had like multiple models, and it had like all these different colors, and then you come out with another one that does everything that the Dreamcast is going to do. It really would have stolen the Dreamcast's fire, right? Because when the Dreamcast would be announced, they'd be like... Oh. Sega's back at it again. They already did a thing with modem, but they're doing it again. You know, like it and they would have said, and unlike the Saturn Model 3 or whatever they call it, there's no internal hard drive. It would have actually made the Dreamcast look less impressive. So
I agree with that actually.
I just think it was too little, too late, and also would have stepped on the toes of the Dreamcast. So I'm glad. I just watched the Batman '89 movie, and when the Joker, he goes, "I'm glad you're dead." That's me. I'm glad you're dead. Pluto.
I actually agree, just because they, like we said in the beginning, they wouldn't have had the software to push this, and the Dreamcast really did, because it was all hands on deck on the modem and the online features, and the VMU. America and Japan were all in, so it made sense. This one, it would have been kind of weird because now you have a hard drive that no game is going to support technically. So, yeah.
Right.
And just adds cost. But let's talk about the Sega VR. I know you think before Facebook, Sega was ahead of time. So let's talk about the design. I have a few photos in here. One of them is the headset on obviously a mannequin head. Then it's this prototype drawing. So it shows you what they were pitching Sega. Then it's a magazine article which gives it this weird red glow, and Sega really leaned into the evil look of this headset. And then the last one where your brain on VR, which looks lit up like one of those, like, what's those games called where you put the little pin, it's like a backlight. They used to sell them in the 70s and 80s, like light or light bright or whatever.
Light bright.
There you go. That's what it looks like.
Their brain is like turning on. Yeah.
So what's your opinion on this design?
I love the design. It looks like the Sega Genesis Model 1 turned into like you morphed into it. You're like RoboCop. You know what I mean? Like
it's just definitely RoboCop.
I think
vibes.
it's very cool. It looks very small, all things considered. I don't, and up until seeing people actually demoing it in photos, you'd almost think like, nah, this isn't possible. I think it looks cool. I would have bought it probably. Had it come out, I probably would have. I would have been hyped.
I actually kind of agree because it just looks so goddamn cool. Like they literally, like when you see the new headsets, they kind of give it this like modern, like if you see the Meta headsets, they're in white, beige. This was just like, no, this is a freaking. You look like a creature out of Alien would wear this device to contact some otherworldly demons or whatever in space.
Right. Yeah, and I did VR in the mid-90s, like very early 3D VR. I went to the Science Museum, and I was actually picked from an audience to come up and do a VR that was inside of one of those things where you walk on a really slippery surface. So it was like full body movement and vision, and it's so weird because I only did it for like 5 minutes, but I have this memory of being in that virtual world. Isn't that weird?
How was it?
I remember my grandma's house, and I remember my first bedroom, and I remember the virtual world that I entered.
What was it, and like what was your experience? Were you impressed?
I was impressed at the time because this was, remember, probably just when the Saturn was about to release, maybe like 95, 96. And I remember it was a green ground, a blue sky. There were these gray blocks all over that were like buildings and like these very cheap looking trees. For years I've tried to find out what this was, because very clearly it's like it was traveling to science museums, and it was something that was maybe not commercially available, but like in demo form for the public. I don't know who made it, but what I did was I climbed to the top of a building, and I think to climb all I had to do was like walk up to a door, and then I would instantly appear on the top. And I walked to the edge, and I looked down, and I think I moved too far forward, and I just like fell straight down, so I went back up again. And what I was supposed to do is walk over to a hang glider, and then when I would touch it, it would attach to me, and then I was supposed to walk off the roof and hang glide to the ground. And that's what I did.
Nice.
So, yeah. And it was so cool. So the fact that if this were to come out like around then, I'd be like, I'm sold. Get me this, because I want to be in the virtual world. I don't want this world anymore. I want to leave. Connect me in. Don't take me out.
All right. Being a little dramatic, Barry, but the Sega VR headset was perhaps the most ambitious of Sega's abandoned projects. Publicly announced in 1991, the head-mounted device was a major talking point at the Winter Consumer Electronics Show, CES, in 1993, which was in Chicago, by the way, and was featured on magazine covers, even appearing as a prize in a breakfast cereal contest. It was planned as the next add-on for the Genesis / Mega Drive, following the Sega CD and preceding the 32X with an estimated price of only $200. Another add-on for the Sega Genesis. We didn't mention the activator, but that also was an add-on for the Genesis. When is enough with these add-ons?
Never enough. Not for the Genesis. We need every add-on. We need the activator. We need the Menacer. We need the VR. We need the Power Stick. We need everything.
The modem one.
Like I said, I want I want Sega to cover my body, and then I'll just enter the virtual world.
Today, VR is a big deal to some people. Have you owned a VR headset, and what's your take on all the VR that they've been pushing in the last, I don't know, 5 years, 8 years?
I have a cardboard one with a strap that I got at like a Five Below or something, just for my iPhone, just to watch like 3D movies and stuff. I think the one I remember the most was The Simpsons did a couch gag that was in VR, and you could download an app, and like it was a 360-degree Simpsons short. And then I also did recently, it was a theme park ride. So I was going on theme park rides to like check them out before going to the theme park. And I'd be like, oh, what's this one like? So I'd get in there. It was fun. But I haven't bought. I did a demo too of the Apple one.
Okay, I was going to say,
and I was
surprised.
I was very impressed, but I'm not spending that. It's too much money.
Yeah, it's too expensive. I will say I tried. I owned the PlayStation one. I kind of didn't like it. It was a little flicky. Beat Saber was really fun though. I really like that game. I think it's a great game. So if you have VR, try Beat Saber. You just get so sweaty in it. It's a good workout, like moving around and stuff. But the headset, you sweat inside it, and it gets kind of gross right away. So you really can't do it for long. That's the negative about it, is how hot you feel sometimes in the headset. And I've tried the Meta too. So those two.
Yeah. I would say the one that I would want to get is the PlayStation one, just because I own Space Channel 5 VR, but not the headset. And just to have that, just for that. I know that's lame, but, for the right price, especially since it's the first one.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So this is $200. Today, this would cost $447 basically. Would you be able to convince your parents to buy you a $200 add-on? Because my mom would have been like, hell no, you're not getting this.
No, there's no way. Like, this would have, at the time, there was never like a expectation that I would be getting a new console. So the fact that I'd be like, I want a $200 add-on. Like, I think the most expensive thing I bought after the Genesis and before the Dreamcast was the Nomad, because I got it for, I think, a little under $100 used, when it was new in store. It was kind of on the way out, but I think I went to the store and they were like, we have a used one that you can get for like $90 or whatever. And I was like, sold. Cool.
Thank you, sir. I do have this video. We're not going to watch it. It's 5 minutes. It is the event of CES where they announced it. I just want to show you this goober that does the announcements. He's like talking to us like in the beginning, just a few seconds. We'll play like maybe 20 seconds to catch the vibes. But the way this guy talks to us as the audience, he's like some guy you just randomly met at the street that does not work for Sega. He's like, hey, have you heard about this Sega VR? It's all over this newspaper. Check this out. It's funny. I'll press play.
Buffs. There's an article about this new device from Sega that takes us into the future. The future, of course, being virtual reality.
Sound effects.
Something that's being talked about by other people, but produced by Sega. Well, I can't get to the right page, but check out this little demonstration.
Oh, man.
What do you think about this?
This guy, just everything.
First of all, this guy's coked out of his mind. He's like lost. He's like, guys, have you guys heard about this great technology called VR from this company called Sega? It's like, yeah, we're a CES. You're supposed to be showing it for the first time, moron.
I know we have an arcade meetup coming up. I should dress as that guy, cosplay as him, and I'll just get a Wired magazine and just like, have you heard about this new thing from the Sega called VR?
He sounds confused where he's at.
He doesn't even know what it is. He's like, yeah.
I guess it's in some page in this magazine. I don't know. It's not open on the right one. So the headset was technologically impressive for its time, featuring sophisticated head tracking, binocular parallax graphics, and a built-in stereo headphones. However, its core hardware could not keep up with the ambitious design. Journalists who tested the prototypes at CES complained of blurry screens and lurching movement, which led to onset of motion sickness. Modern analysis, they've kind of looked at it. Basically, it had an insanely low refresh rate of only 15 hertz. Apparently, modern VR headsets operate at a minimum of 72 hertz, which I still get dizzy. So it makes sense that people would get eye strains from the low refresh rates. This whole thing kind of reminds me of the Nintendo's Virtual Boy, which came out after this. Have you ever tried the Virtual Boy? And like, because it just gives you headaches.
I might have tried it at a friend's house, but I honestly don't have a strong memory of it. I think I did try the Tiger one that you strap to your head, which is hardly VR. It's just the game like close to your eye. But yeah, I've always wanted to try Virtual Boy.
They have it,
and I'm kind of surprised they
have
it
3DS
on the
Switch
didn't,
online.
Oh, they do? Well, but
It's
not in 3D.
No.
Yeah.
I knew someone that had it. I let them borrow, I think, some console, maybe PlayStation or something that I had. And they let me borrow with a bunch of games he got from the flea market. He didn't have the stand, so I would have to lay down on the back of my bed and hold it to my head while I played with the controller. Really weird setup, but I played the Wario Land on it, and I played Mario Tennis, which were both actually really fun. So
yeah, I've heard they are.
But your eyes and you got headaches. It was crazy, but yeah, I did enjoy the games they made for it. Just the hardware wasn't up to par, in my opinion. Sega's public reason for cancellation was famously absurd. The company claimed that the experience was so realistic and immersive that it posed a high risk of injury from players moving around. The true reasons were far more pragmatic and health related. Former Sega of America CEO Tom Kalinske has since confirmed that the large percentage of testers became ill from using the device, and a report from Stanford Research Institute warned that it was a health hazard for children. The risk of a product causing physical sickness, particularly one aimed at a younger demographic, made its cancellation necessary, if less dramatic, business decision. What do you think about Sega's PR answer? Like, you think it's good to be like, no. We're just so good at making VR that we have to cancel it because Barry wants to leave the real world and live in the Sega world.
Well, I think what they should have done, if you remember the Beta 7, do you remember that for NFL Football 2K4, where it was like this weird Blair Witch project where like visual concepts had like players getting like injured by the game? It was very strange. So it would have been cool if Sega's like just made up a straight lie and like made all these phony documentation where like we had a player play it and they got sucked into the game and disappeared and they went to the virtual world, and we don't want that to happen. So we hope to bring him back, but we can't do this to the public. That would have been awesome. And Tom Kalinski's out there. He's like, he's gone. He's gone. He disappeared into the virtual game world.
You could bring the VR announcer guy with the magazine, but the magazine is the picture of Sonic grabbing the kids, remember, from the TV? And he's like, look, this is proof.
From Sonic Live. That would have been awesome.
Yeah, that would have been awesome. So The story of the Sega VR serves as a perfect encapsulation of Sega's hardware strategy in the 90s. The company was obsessed with being first to the market, launching ambitious but technically flawed products, and then using questionable public relations to cover the underlying issues. The story of the VR's cancellation mirrors the company's broader hardware failures and its eventual retreat from the console business. In the final telling twist, preservationists with the Video Game History Foundation managed to acquire the source code for a lost VR game called Nuclear Rush from a former developer. When they analyzed the code, they made a shocking discovery. The game's original developer had never even tested their creation on an actual VR headset, instead using side-by-side monitors. This demonstrates the deep-seated disconnect between design and implementation that plagues Sega's hardware efforts. Are you surprised that Sega was more interested in announcing something like Sega VR to keep their name in print and on the news to be this like cutting-edge company, but never really focused on the larger picture?
Yeah, I think at the time what they should have done is they should have had like, you know, the Sega stuff that we are going to get, and then maybe just a view at Sega research and development, you know, where they kind of create it more as like, this is what we're looking at behind closed doors. This may or may not ever be a product, but look at how exciting our tech is. And I think if they had done those sorts of things with some of these projects, especially VR, it I think would have gone over well. Whereas with this, like, they very clearly, you saw that presentation, they were like, you're going to buy this very soon. Here's the game lineup.
Yeah.
And, like, what you do is you first have, you make sure it works, you make sure it's playable, you make sure you have enough games, and then you announce it. Otherwise, it's just a tech demo. And I think Sega is a very innovative company, but I feel like they shouldn't have pushed this as a possible product. Instead of, they should have just been like, hey, we got something to show off behind closed doors that this might never happen, but check out what we're capable of. You know, like, that's what they should have done. They didn't, but
I agree. I mean, software was always their, I think, weakness when they had all these like releases. The fact that they had so many, in my opinion, good Game Gear games is kind of, well, I guess they kind of borrowed Master System stuff, but that was probably their best. And then Sega CD, and then after that, it's just too little. But yeah, you can't just announce a VR thing and not even one game, like not even a Sonic game or a Sonic experience.
Right? Yeah, that's really wild.
And
not smart.
So no units of this actually exist in the wild. I mean, I haven't seen, obviously we've seen the pictures are all promos. Is this something that you'll think is going to end up coming out in the wild anytime?
It's possible. I mean, we did have demo units and that guy was holding one. Clearly something worked. The one thing I'm not super clear on is, like, did it connect to something? Where did the cartridge go? Were there cartridges? Like, that's one thing they never really showcased, and it makes me wonder if
it was supposed to be an add-on to the Genesis, so it was supposed to connect to the Genesis and play, I guess. And then would it
plug into the cartridge, or would it plug? Like, where would it plug in? It's very weird.
In the
back video slot.
There was in the back. They had the that cord you use to connect the Genesis with the 32X. I was thinking something like that.
Oh, maybe.
But that's
like, you'd have to imagine. Did they have box art planned? Like, clearly they would have had a different look for the game. It would have been like Sega VR or whatever. So it's. I'd like to learn more about it. I'd like to see more. And to be honest, of all of these, if I had just like a plastic shell, like a reproduction, it would be this one, just to wear. Maybe one, you know what? Maybe one that you could put your phone in, at the very least, and hook up the headphone jack and have stereo sound. I do that.
So if you look at the Sega Retro article, there's these people driving. They're driving a car. The kid is
Yeah.
like wearing the headset in the passenger seat with the Sega Genesis controller. That's scary as hell. Like I mean, too much. It's too much. Like if my kid was doing something like that, I'd be like, cut it out. This is ridiculous. Just play on your phone like a normal person. But I think it's funny that they're like showing them in a car in VR. But yeah, I would like to see this actually be leaked because I want to see how it worked, more deep dives, how it played. Like I would love to play this, just to get a headache. I think it would be fun. If you do look down here, they did have some of the games on the Sega Retro. Basically, the games they had were Iron Hammer, Matrix Runner, Nuclear Rush, and Outlaw Racing, which are not big hit. I mean, are not brand names that matter to normal people. So definitely need more software.
Yeah, those all just sound like words.
Yeah, it sounds like a Master System lineup that you Master System games you randomly see that were just like came out and no one cared about. But
right, or like fake video games for a TV show. You know,
pretty much.
It's like, do you want to play Sludge Racer or Nuclear Combat? Oh, I don't know. They all sound good.
Out of these 3 unannounced consoles or units, which I guess the plastic shell one would probably be the one that has nothing, would probably not be the one you want. Obviously, just a sculpture. Which one of those, of Pluto or this one, would you rather have, like as a unit for yourself?
Oh, Sega VR, hands down.
Yeah.
Because the other ones, I can emulate. I can do that at home. Like if you put the controller in my hand and tell me, "Hey Barry, you're playing a Sega Neptune," even though like there's a box over a standard 32X, I wouldn't know the difference. But Sega VR, oh man, to own one of those would be outstanding. You'd make news. You'd be the most famous Sega fan in the world.
If you used to work at Sega of America, can you please send me the Sega VR? Pretty please, with a cherry on top. And I think that is worth it. Just the cherry on top. So I asked nicely, if you don't give it to me, I'll come and get it myself. But anyway, for real though.
Oh no.
That's the end of the episode. Is there anything you want to add about these lost consoles?
Oh man, no, not really. But it's making me. I don't know. I'm getting a little FOMO. Like I want to buy these, but I know I can't. So
$84,000 too much?
Keep dreaming. Yeah, it's too much. I don't have.
Yeah, I don't think I would have done it either. I can't do that.
Oh man.
Take out a loan.
Yeah. But okay, well let's do that. But for the next Sega Talk, we're actually going to do something new. So this is a picker wheel tier. So we're going to spin this, and whichever one it lands on is going to be the next episode. And then, George, I'll already tell you right now, the episode after that you are going to do is going to be Rystar.
Oh,
so,
okay, easy.
So this one is the August pick for our $10 tier pickers. The next one's going to be the September pick for, I do believe it's Nicholas Schaefer. So his is going to be Rystar. And so let's spin the wheel. We have 4 options here: Sonic 4 Episode 1, American Box Art Design, Sonic 2 8-bit, and Sonic 1 8-bit.
Spin. Ooh, and it has noise.
I love it.
Sonic 4 Episode 1.
Oh man, that's exciting. So that is going to be the next episode. I'm so excited for that. And then after that, we're going to have Rystar. And then I believe after that, it's going to take us into October. And if Nicholas Schaefer gets his October pickup, then he'll be our first October episode. So, wow, that's exciting. You want to close us out?
That's all on this episode of Sega Talk. Bye.
Bye.